Hello, everyone. It is Sunday night, and we are live here at Bat City Comic Professionals to wind down your weekend. As always, I am your host, Shannon, aka Small Press Shann, here to talk to you about all of this week's small press and indie comic new releases. Before we jump into that, we have to go over all of the cool and exciting things that we did this week, which was really, really fun. We did the career day at the Boys and Girls Club for Manatee County earlier this week, which was really awesome. We got to talk to three different groups of kids who cycled through, who got to learn about what it's like to create comics, what it's like to sell comics, how all of the distribution and all the cool stuff like that comes to us and brings us comics, what it's like to teach with comics. They got to learn all the facets of owning a small business that's geared around comics on whichever path they may want to go, which was really, really cool. So thank you to the Boys and Girls Club for having us out. That was a lot of fun. This week we also had our creator meetup, which was a really exciting time. I love always getting to hang out with all of our friends who are awesome local creators. If you have never come to a creator meetup, it's a fun time to just bring what you're working on and talk about it, or to just come and hang out and get to know other people. We are having a special one on August 1st, which is a Thursday night. We are going to be doing a Mad Cave Talent Search specific creator meetup. So if you are working on a project and you are excited to enter that Mad Cave Talent Search, you should come out that night, because we're going to be going over people's pitches and portfolios and things like that to make sure that they're ready for the competition turn-in date in August. The other thing, if you don't know what that is go to Mad Cave's website or their Instagram or social media, Mad Cave Studios. Go check it out, because this is a cool competition where every year they help find a new writer, artist, colorist, and inker for the Mad Cave world. And so this is a really great opportunity for those of you who are looking for a foot in the doorway of comics. This is a great way to do just that. And they will list a certain amount of projects that you can jump in on. So feel free to get into that. It's going to be a lot of fun, and come out on Thursday, August 1st to be a part of that. Also this week we had our story spelunkers, and we met and we talked about, we read Kaya issue 2, and in that we talked about what it was like to kind of like make some inference and evidence decisions based off of what we saw from that second issue. And so we learned to answer some questions, but we started on issue 2 so that we didn't have any of the prior knowledge about what was going on, and we had to actually use the clues in issue 2 to figure out what was going on in the story to answer those questions we had. And then we put them all in magnifying glasses, which was really cool, and kind of use those to solve our clues and answer our questions. And then, of course, we had some fun times coloring some Detective Pikachus. And then we had slam, inking and lettering, or inking and finishing and coloring. And so if you missed any of the slam classes, they will be offered again at a further future date, so keep an eye out for when those may be coming back around. Outside of that, this week is a big one. So this is 4th of July week, so there's going to be a lot going on. First of all, we will be closing early on Wednesday, July 3rd. We are going to be heading over to the Marauders game. It is the fireworks night. You can use the link on our website, batcity.org. On the homepage of our website, there is a link for this game to actually get tickets, which will get you a hat and a drink voucher and a chance to see the game. It also comes back and supports our programming here at Bat City. But you want to get there early, because at 5:30 is the Mayor's Classic Hot Dog Eating Contest, and our own Matt Live will be participating. So come out and cheer Matt on as he sees how many hot dogs he can eat in 10 minutes or less. It's going to be the coolest. So come out, support Matt and the Marauders, and then stay for the fireworks at the end of the game, because it's always a fun time. And then, of course, Thursday we will be closed for the 4th of July, so don't come that day. Go out and celebrate and enjoy the holiday. And then Friday night is our quarterly subscriber party. So if you have a subscription with us here where you pick up your weekly books at Bat City, you've signed up for the subscription program, you and your family members are invited to join us for our subscriber quarterly party. It's going to be a potluck. Bring a dish if you want, bring some drinks if you want. if you just want to come and hang out, it's going to be great. That said, we will be closing around like 6:30 to the general public, so make sure you head out early on Friday if you are not coming to that subscriber party. And then this Saturday, we will also have a Slam Academy, which I believe is editing this week with Santiago. So come out and learn how to edit all of your stuff. And then is that this week? I think it might be this week. There is something this week for Slam. I'll have to double check. But there's a Slam class to bring the kids and teens who want to improve their writing and art skills out for that. And then I will actually be this upcoming Saturday. I will be down in Port Charlotte bringing the Academic Avengers to the kids down there. So it will be a fun time at the library down there. So it's going to be a great week. It's going to be a fun 4th of July. We're going to have some great comics coming out, as always, which we're going to talk about what came out this week in just a second. But, of course, we can't wind down our weekend without some wine. So we are drinking Uncaged, which is a Z. Alexander Brown wine. It is from California, and it's all, about really their whole thing is that it's just these uncaged wild grapes that run on the vineyard through the valley, and it's supposed to be fresh and free and wonderful. And so it is a Cab Sav, so we're going to see what it tastes like. We were talking about what it smelled like earlier because it was really strong when we opened it up, and it's kind of definitely faded as it's breathed. But let's see what we got here. It's such a dark wine. There is. Okay. That's creamy. That's a really creamy wine.
Not as buttery as I thought, but it's creamy. But it's spicy.
Yeah, it's still got a little bit of a kick, so it's not like a full like you said. It's not like the full buttery deep, rich texture, but it does have a little bit of a satin to it. And then, it does have some spice. I've never heard of this wine at all, which is cool. I love seeing them. I love that this one is all about the owl being the spirit of the guardian of the vine and how they're free and wonderful, and so is this wine. But, it doesn't say what you should pair it with, so I'm going to suggest you pair it with comic book reading. And honestly, you could probably get away. It's a Cab. You could get away with any meats, really, at all, or cheeses, because that's what Cabs are really good for. But we're going to be drinking this throughout. If you're joining us, let us know that you're joining us. Let us know how you're relaxing on your Sunday. Let us know what books you loved reading this week, because we want to hear all about them. And I'm going to slide this over so we can jump into the books that we've got going on. This is on a crazy week for James Tynion fans, because I think he has 4 or 5 books out this week. So if you are a fan of his, rejoice, because you've got a lot coming your way. And kicking it off is Something is Killing the Children, issue 38 from Boom Studios. We're going back in time, and we're kind of giving you stories of Erica Slaughter as she was when she was on the road before everything that happened in volume 1 of Something is Killing the Children. So because we are 38 issues in and there's so much coming into the story, we're kind of taking a little step back and just letting people come in and get to know Erica a little bit more and why she is the way she is. As if you've been slaughtering monsters for a really long time, you're going to get a little hardened, but Erica always seems to still really care about the children that they're supposed to be protecting. And so it's nice to just see these stories of her interacting with kids throughout different places. And in this issue, we saw in the last issue that she got a little hurt fighting a monster. And in this issue, she has taken refuge in a kid's treehouse, but the kids run up there to hide from their angry older sister whose hair that they've chopped up. And Erica is crashed out inside of this treehouse. And so the kids end up discovering a little bit about Erica that they're not supposed to know. And because this is back in time, they do get to, they take a phone call with a man that they call the angry man on the phone, who they decide is very rude, which you'll recognize from some previous Something is Killing the Children worlds when you go back and read this. But if you haven't read Something is Killing the Children, this arc has been a really good one for getting you invested into it. because it is kind of not necessarily deep into the story. But if you are somebody who's been reading Something That's Killing the Children, I will once again suggest that you pick up House of Slaughter, because it is building towards whatever we're going to come back to. They did just announce that there's going to be a 0 issue of Something Is Killing the Children that's going to take place right before the events of issue 1 of Something Is Killing the Children. And so that's going to be coming out in September, I believe. So if you're like, I really want to get into Something That's Killing the Children and I really want to start at the very beginning, that 0 issue is going to be a good starting point. And speaking of starting points, we've got a new jumping in point for Department of Truth. This is issue 23. This is from Image, and it's also from James Tynion. This has been on hold for 2 years or so, while James and Martin Simmons both worked on other projects. And so they decided, because it's been so long, that the best way to do it was to go back to the founding of the Department of Truth and kind of give us the story behind this secret organization. So if you don't know Department of Truth, I'm going to focus more on that to kind of get you the information you need to jump into this. But Department of Truth is an organization within the government that helps stop mass hysteria come to life. Essentially, the belief is that if enough people believe in a conspiracy theory, it will come true. And so a branch of the government is actually created in order to stop those conspiracies from coming true or getting rid of the things that have. And we saw a lot about the director of the time when we see the story unfold in the original issues. And this is going to go back to how that person ended up involved in the Department of Truth and how the Department of Truth is founded. So it's going to take us back in time, not only issue-wise, but also in real life. And this was really fascinating. I actually handed this to somebody this week who's never read a single issue of Department of Truth and had no idea what it was about, and said, hey, can you read this and tell me if you understand it? And they were like, this feels like a prequel, and it feels like I could come in here and then read this arc and then go back and maybe read the story and it'll all come together. Like, I'm getting pieces of it, kind of understand what maybe the story is about right now, without having ever read it. And I now want to read this book a lot more. And so this is a good place if you've never read it to start. And this is going to be a full arc of this story. So it wasn't just like this one issue and now you're stuck going back into it. What's really good is the early issues of Department of Truth also kind of read like an anthology. So if you do get into it, you can jump into that and feel like it's easy to kind of connect. We've got Grimm, issue 18 from Boom Studios. This is all about a girl named Jessica who is the Grim Reaper, essentially. She's in a world where there's lots of Reapers. That's what she currently does as a job. And what happens is a human sees her and then they notice that there's something different and weird about her. And she finds out that she has a big connection to death. And then some people try to overtake the afterlife and they end up causing a point to where death can no longer happen for anybody. And so the world is just being overrun with souls. Nobody's dying. And like, this not only makes death mad, but it also makes life mad, who is also a god in and of himself. And in this issue, we actually see that backstory of the character of Life and how he got to the point where he hates death as much as he does, and why he feels like there's this ultimate battle between good and evil, and he finds himself to be exactly that. And I love this entry point for this issue, because he does talk about a human that he gave immortality to just because he wanted to see like what will be the tipping point for humans, if they, will they end life or death, will they end good or evil. And it's kind of just this giant game that he's playing, and we realize that that's kind of what life has been doing with everybody, is just playing games with them. And so we're gonna see this big showdown probably between the two, even though at the end of the day, like, one needs the other to kind of keep going. We've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures issue 14 from IDW. This is basically for all of you fans of the cartoon. This is a story made just for you, because this is just like reading more episodes of the story. And we've been on a little 3-parter recently where they are fighting Dr. Og, who is very upset that they have ever beaten him and is trying to completely and totally destroy the turtles. And so they've had 3 chances, and they won one round and he won 1 round. And now he's like, I'm not taking any chances. I'm going to bring all of your villains from the past, present, and future to fight you so that I can defeat you completely and totally. And so we get to see every villain that the turtles have ever faced kind of show up in here. And Matt hasn't read it yet, so I can't tell you if we really do see all of them, because it would take somebody like Matt to like confirm that for me. But we do see a lot of them, and then we do see some that we've never seen before. And one of them is actually not a Turtles villain at all. Or will they be? Because now this has opened up a new can of worms for some people who have discovered the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And in the next issue, we are actually going to get the first original villain for this series coming our way, which is teased at the end of the book. So I'm really excited to see them give us something like complete unique to this series, which is something that our Turtles Adventures books have always kind of brought to us. And so it's fun to see them do that here, and it's just an absolute riot. If you have kids, or if you were a 90s kid who loved the Ninja Turtles, you definitely got to read it. We've got World Tree issue 11, part of the James Tynion Week of Comics and from Image as well. This is, we had our horror, and then we had our governmental conspiracies. Now let's go into our sci-fi technology story from James Tynion. And we are seeing this story unfold very, very much recently, but this is all about a world where there is a dark underside of the internet that causes everybody to go crazy and kill people. And there is this group of people who essentially discovered it a long time ago when they were just like young hacker kids, and then they decided that it was up to them to kind of build in protections for all of us from that. And now all of their protections have failed, the internet has gone bad, and we're seeing the destruction of the world. And so they have taken the internet down and are trying to keep the world safe from it. But there's just always that guy who's like, it's a benefit to me to have a dark world and to have everything run by death and destruction, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to do that. And so we are about to see a big standoff between the corporations that want to keep the world under their control and the people who want to make sure that they cannot be controlled in that manner. And I think we're probably nearing the end of the story, or at least nearing the end of, we're obviously in the end of the next arc, but we'll see if it goes a whole full other arc, or if this is going to be like a weird 15 issue ending, because we could get really close to the end of the next couple issues, but you could always build the world back up if you needed to. We've got Project Cryptid issue 10 from Ahoy Comics. If you are a fan of cryptid beasts and monsters, you should definitely come and grab some of these fun Project Cryptid books, because these are an anthology series that just showcases different cryptids from around the world, and it's kind of fun to see what other people's stories are. And so this one starts with a sea serpent that's up from the Massachusetts area, and they say that nobody's ever seen it, but they start trying to tease this little girl in that they're like, oh, well, if you see it once, she'll lead you to she'll give you good luck, but if you see her twice, the sea serpent will, nobody will believe you and you'll be lured to your death. And this kid just kind of sees the sea serpent and decides, you know what? I don't have any friends. My dad's a terrible person. My mom needs help, surviving that situation. Maybe I'll just make friends with this sea serpent. And so you get this really adorable story. It was so heartwarming and wonderful. And then the second story, all the heart and warmth that you get from that story is taken away from you in the second one. When we learn about the eyes, and we see this world where we've got these spirits who are ancestral and are supposed to keep you safe and to kind of help the travelers along the way who have been injured. But what we find is a man who may be responsible for the death of somebody he loves, and finds that person coming back to haunt him and address the situations. And his darkness cannot is not welcome in that creature's home, and people just trying to like raid creatures' tombs and things like that. And so you see people get what they deserve in that issue, which is less heartwarming, but still completely and totally valid in a cryptid book. But again, if you want it, there's always a good story, and you get, as with all Ahoy books, you get a couple of pro stories at the back, so you always have a lot for your money with an Ahoy book to check out. We've got Sacrificers, issue 9 from Image Comics, and this is absolutely positively my favorite Rick Remender book. It's so fantastic. This is about a world where each family is basically taught to raise a child to be sacrificed to the gods. And in this world, we are following Pigeon, who is a young bird man who was raised to be a sacrifice. And when he goes to the place that they think that they're going to do this great and wonderful thing where they're going to sacrifice themselves into the service of the gods. But what we learn very early on is that the sacrifice that they're actually making is their life. And the gods are drinking these kids' essence to keep them young and youthful and immortal for forever. And Pigeon finds this out because they come after him and his friends. And he is now on a war path. Now that he knows this is the case, he is not going to let the gods take advantage of the people in this way. And he has decided that his vengeance is swift and complete. And so he is going after the gods one by one. And I cannot wait to see what happens. We also have been following the daughter of one of the ultimate god, as she has also learned this discovery of what the gods are doing. And her story is not going as well as Pigeon's. So we're going to see those paths cross, I assume, at some point, and I cannot wait. We've got No One, issue 9 from Image and your Black Market Narrative imprints. This is a part of your Radiant Black universe, your massive verse. However, it is the least connected. So far, you honestly still could go without ever reading a Radiant Black book to follow along with this. But this is a world where there was a murderer who everybody thinks they've got in prison, but now is there copycats, or is it never the right person that was actually arrested who confessed to being the murderer? Because now all of these murders are happening again all over Pittsburgh, and they need to figure out who is doing them. And the detective who was in charge of this case, it is actually like the person who confessed to being the killer was his son. And so everybody doesn't trust him. He's now retired. They brought him back. And he is partnering up with this woman who is running a blog that's a podcast that's putting it all together and is trying to figure out who is No One, who is this man behind the mask that's been kind of taking out all of the corrupted officials and things like that. Interesting thing is that you can actually listen to that podcast. It is a real thing, so it's kind of an addition to your universe and adds more to it. But we are coming to a helm. I believe this book is slated to be 10 issues, so the next one may be our very last one, unless they've expanded that. But this is, we're seeing all the paths cross, and now they've passed a law that basically allows you to go after somebody who does you wrong with no consequences in the world. And so all these people are just like dying, and mass chaos and riots are breaking out. And so we might find out that No One may be a hero in the end, because we need somebody to help us put that world back together. We've got Knights, issue 8 from Image Comics. This is one of those books that has the weirdest premise. This is it's kind of like, I always say it's like the American adult version of a Miyazaki film, and it really does continue to kind of fall into that realm. We've got a world where a young boy has come to live with his cousin, who has a skeleton roommate who is essentially a person who's died that can't cross over to the other side yet, and a vampire roommate who is the town vampire, because every town just has a vampire. And we have recently found out that his cousin has basically this giant wolf entity that he's bound to, that is also part of it. So it's just like a little bit of mythology that grows and grows each issue. And this one kid is just trying to figure out how to survive in this world. He finds himself having a crush on the vampire, who has gone through so many things, and things continue to happen in this issue. It's really just becoming a story of friends kind of helping each other through their everyday problems, except those everyday problems happen to be really, really huge, like, ancient spirits coming for you because they feel like your power is the only one that can help them build a new body to survive, and only one of you can help, like, save the day. It's an absolute crazy, ridiculous, over-the-top story that has a lot of heart buried inside of it. And then they always give you a cool little playlist to listen to for each issue. So if you're ever like, oh, I want to read the book and enjoy some music, they always have a playlist printed on the back of songs that you can enjoy. We've got Sire, The Rebirth, Part 2, Issue 7 from Dren Productions. This is a superhero character that is honestly kind of doing a really cool, interesting thing. And the Sire has had a couple different volumes already, so you can jump in to those. Like, I would recommend buying a trade paperback for those, or jumping in on, like, the Sire Rebirth, which is kind of what brought him back. And then this is the part 2 of that. But this is about a guy who was given superpowers, and basically what happens is the suit is what is the power. And when somebody else has these powers in the universe, the suit activates within him, like, it actually, like, fully forms on him. He doesn't have to go put the suit on. And whenever he suits up, it takes him to these powered humans and basically weighs whether or not they deserve to be worthy of their powers and keep their powers. And if they're a bad guy and they have ill intent for their powers, he will defeat them in battle and strip them of their powers. But if he finds that the suit finds them to be worthy of the powers, even if they're not a good person but they intend to use the powers for good, the suit will let them keep them. And so he is actually facing that in this situation where he has 2 people that he's fought before, and deemed them as humans to be terrible, but the suit has now decided that they deserve superpowers because they have good intentions with them. And so he's like, hey, maybe I need to build a team, and maybe y'all will be on it. So we're kind of seeing the birth of that, like, Justice League of people who aren't necessarily the best heroes, but are going to build something out with the Sire. Negaduck, issue 6 from Disney's imprint at Dynamite. This is, for you Darkwing Duck fans, we have built out a universe of Darkwing Duck at Dynamite right now, with the main Darkwing title, the Justice Ducks title, and this story that follows Negaduck specifically, who is Darkwing's ultimate villain, and he's finally getting his own story. He, at the beginning of this series, was let out of jail and decided he needed to rebuild his name as a villain. It has not worked out for him so far, and in the last issue, when he was trying to accomplish stealing something off of an island, he caught the attention of, like, a Legion of Doom kind of situation. Except he already has Legion of Doom, so this is a completely different organization. And he gets drawn into them, and he finds out when he goes to their lair that they are all from different dimensions. They're, like, the worst villain from their dimension. And they've kind of just been like, hey, it's cool, we could just lay low here because, like, there's nothing we need to do because, you know, this is way better than our world. And he's like, no, we are villains. We must choose something negative and destructive. And so in this issue, he's trying to train them to be villains in his world and come up with some great ways to fight back. So I'm sure we will see all of these villains battling the Justice Ducks in a crossover to come. Don't quote me on that, but it just seems like that's what we have to be building towards. What are we at? All right, we've got Blue Book, issue 5, 1947, from Dark Horse and James Tynion. I told you there's a lot of James Tynion books this week. This is the end of the 1947 run of Blue Book, and possibly the end of Blue Book entirely. I don't know if we'll get another volume out of it. But if you haven't read Volume 1 of Blue Book, it was kind of just specifically about certain stories of people talking about their alien invasions and the experience that they had, and it went through the actual Blue Book legacies that the government has to track alien stories. This takes us back to the very beginning when we first saw a flying saucer and we didn't really know what it was or what to call it, and kind of going around those concepts. And in this issue, we see the people who started the government organization actually begin to do it. We see actually that there was multiple government organizations that came about to try to find aliens and then to, like, deny aliens. And then finally we get an organization from a man who actually wants to believe in the aliens and wants to kind of, you know, go out there and keep mass hysteria from happening, but also maybe actually be real about what it is. And we see how the government handles everything that he brings in. And then we actually see like the creation of the blue books and what that actually means and how these stories are going to be handled from here on out. So it's kind of cool that James Tynion gives us this history lesson essentially, and how alien understanding has happened in America and kind of where we are with that. And it's really, like, honestly and truthfully, if you look up stories of Blue Book, like, this is all that really is. It's not like made up stories from James Tynion. It is literally just a history lesson of the Blue Book project in America. We've got the Cabernet issue 5 from Image Comics. And I believe this is the end of volume 1. Yes, this is the end of volume 1 of this. So we're going to see this story arc kind of leave us waiting for more. But this is all about a young girl whose parents are a part of the secret society that protects the world through this cabinet, where you have to put things in it in a certain order or take things out in a certain order in order to essentially keep the universe safe and evil at bay. And when she's very young, she ends up going and playing with the cabinet and possibly screwing up the entire world and letting out all kinds of evil and causing her parents to disappear, die, or something of that nature. And she has spent her entire childhood and teenage years training as much as she can to put it all back together again. But the cutest thing is that she only has the notes from when she was a child, so she always refers to the things under the most ridiculous names. Even the cabinet, she calls it Cabby. She has a best friend who he's traveling with her, and he kind of works as her protector and the person literally carrying the cabinet around everywhere they go. We have seen that this secret society is lashing out and fighting back in multiple ways at this point. And while she does seem to have an agent on the inside who is keeping her safe, there may not be enough that they can do to stop whatever evil is coming after her. And so we are going to see how this plays out, but we're not going to do that for quite a while because, like I said, this is the end of the arc. So you're going to have to jump in now, get caught up if you haven't, and then wait impatiently like the rest of us to see what's going to happen next. We've got You and I, issue 5 from AWA. I love that they do these classic, like, romance, like, novel covers that they've got going on with these. But this is a part of your Resistance universe. And if you don't know what that is, basically in 2020, AWA launched with a new superhero universe where there was a massive pandemic and a bunch of people got sick and died. And those who got sick and didn't die, a lot of them gained superpowers. And we haven't really seen much in the last couple years from that universe, but J. Michael Straczynski is back at it. And in this issue, in this series, we are following a guy named Yu who doesn't really remember who he is or where he came from, but he has this ability to see the world in this magical way, almost like it is a comic book or a movie, and he is fighting against forces of evil that he doesn't really know why he's fighting them. He just can't handle injustice. And he knows that the one thing he's supposed to do is meet a girl named I, who will be his partner in life, so that they would be you and I. And he meets a girl his age named Isabel, and he realizes that she is the I to his you, and they've been formulating this beautiful love and wonderful story between them, but also all of those evil men in the world are still coming after them, and they are also coming after Isabel now as a way to get to him. And so they must figure out that they're being used and watched and in danger before it's too late and they don't get to fight back. But we're probably going to see a really big battle coming our way in the next issue as Yu does everything he can to protect Isabel. I'm going to take another drink of this wine. We are drinking Uncaged tonight from Z. Alexander Brown. That is another one of those wines where the longer it breathes, the better it gets. But yeah, that spicy kick at the end is so good. All right. I'm going to slide this back over in just a sec. Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I didn't want to move it on you. And then I'm going to jump into the number 4s. We've got the end of D-Prog. This is issue 4 of D-Prog from Dead Sky Publishing. I love this book. I love everything about this book. I love the way it started. I love the middle. I love the end. I love Lisa Sterl's art. I love Tina Horn's writing. I love that I can't show you a lot of the book, so we're gonna piece pages together that I can show you. But basically, if you've never read Deprog, it is a story about a woman named Tate who is a detective. But her job, what she does is she helps get people out of cults, and then she helps them deprogram from the experience that they had there. And one day, a femme fatale wanders into her office and is like, I need your help. My brother's been taken by a cult. And it just happens that the cult is the same one that Tate was raised in. And Tate's been like, I don't work with that cult. I will not stop any. I will not go into it. I will not infiltrate it. I will not save people from it. I want nothing to do with it. And she's like, but look at how pretty I am. And Tate's like, oh, you're right. You're beautiful. I have to help you. I've saved this femme fatale from this terrible experience she's having. And so they've infiltrated the cult. And I've been trying to save this brother, and we are coming to a head on what this cult is actually trying to build, what this, world what this world did to Tate, what this world is doing, what their goal is to do to the world, how they think they're going to reach this ultimate enlightenment, and who is actually in charge of the cult. We're going to see all of that come to a boil in this issue, and we're going to see how that also wraps up. And honestly, I know Tina Horn made a reference to the fact that, like, hopefully this isn't the end of these characters, and I absolutely agree. I hope we get to see more cases from Tate in the future. Past, present, future, I don't care where they come from. I just need to see more Tate, because I love this character, and their inability to work through their own problems is fantastic. Great writing, great art. Just read it. Only if you're an adult, because it is mature. Ghostbusters, Back in Town, issue 4 from Dark Horse, and this is the wrap-up of this, which I guess means I could technically watch the second Ghostbusters movie in the new franchise, but I still haven't seen the first one, which is the key point to bring up, because you need to know that even if you haven't seen the new Ghostbuster franchise, but you're just looking for a fun story in the Ghostbusters universe, you can read this. And so this features the characters from that new world, including, Paul Rudd. And they're all moving to New York, and they're supposed to be starting a life brand new, but when they get there, obviously they're still going to be Ghostbusters, so they move into the old fire station, and they're trying to fix it up, get everything ready to go, and live their best Ghostbusters life. But an old enemy is indirectly back in this, and instead of pink slime, we're getting some green slime. And they have to deal with that. They have to take out this character, but it's not the same, so they can't just, get the city of New York to sing and be happy again. They actually have to find a whole new way to defeat this villain. And so you get a fun story in 4 issues that does, I believe, fall between movie 1 and movie 2. So if you are wanting to watch that new Frozen Ghostbusters movie, you might want to grab this before you do. Or if your kids and you are loving the new Ghostbusters franchise, definitely read it. I mean, David Booher writes that, and I love everything David Booher writes, so I would suggest it no matter what. But Ghostbusters fans, you should definitely check it out. We've got Feral issue 4 from Image Comics. If you are a fan of Stray Dogs, this is your companion series. This is all about a bunch of cats who are in a world where they must survive essentially a cat version of a zombie apocalypse. There is a virus that is spreading through animals, and these cats are taken supposedly to a safe space, but in the process their car crashes and they find themselves in the woods in the middle of danger, and all they want to do is get home and understand what's going on and find, a safe space to survive. And so they've teamed up with a couple other, like alley cats, tomcats, things like that, and they are all trying to make their way through the woods into the city and back to their home. And in this issue, they do actually make it home, but we find out that even when you go home in a zombie apocalypse, it's not quite the same as what you thought it was going to be. And if you read Stray Dogs, there's just going to be doom and gloom and sadness coming your way, but hopefully there will be a happy moment to save the day at the end. And it's just a fun read. We've got issue 4 of Spellweaver from Keenspot. This is a very young adult novel kind of adventure of a story from Keen Spot. I know, like, their stories kind of range from, like, the youngest to the oldest of content. And so this one's kind of going to fall in your young adult. But this is about a young girl who does magic in a kingdom. And they go to the kingdom to try to just get some water and to do their deliveries, and they're not supposed to be doing magic. But in the process, her and her partner discover that there has been some darkness and some plague and some things kind of just overtaking the village, and she ends up trying to help and gets sucked into this alternate dark realm where she is going to be used and abused by the people of the town who are of this alternate realm, who are trying to essentially take her and use her power to activate this crystal that will help them get to the other realm where they can just destroy everybody. And so she has to fight. She doesn't really remember what she's fighting for, so her friends from our realm have come over to try to help her battle against these people and save her soul. And we are going to see whether or not they can save their friend and get back to the real world, and make the world settle back into whatever was right and good. But I really want to see more from this character. I think she's really cool, and I kind of feel like she was out of it a lot in the beginning of this. So I'm like, oh, let's give her some more story where she gets to just be like the cool character and just do magic and be awesome. We've got Blasphemous, issue 3 from Distillery. This is Mirka and Dolfo's incredibly fantastically gorgeous book that they've been working on. And this is the wrap-up. Distillery books are 3 issues long because they are slightly oversized in story size, and also they are huge IMAX style books. But this is a world where we have created like immortal beings that are essentially feeding the evil or the good of the world. And at this point, like, we've made it to where it all kind of is evil. We're worshiping these demon-type people to give power to the world. And we're doing it all through social media influencers and musicians. And so this girl, our main character, is Kalia. And she is actually a musician who has just become, like, the ultimate celebrity in the world. And she has a very dark past of her long life. And over the course of this, we've seen that, like, they were like, oh, Kalia has some problems, she needs some help, we need to do something about it. So they brought in a therapist to help her. Well, it turns out she wasn't who she says she was, and now this epic battle of good versus evil is kind of coming to a head in a way that you are not going to be prepared for, which is really cool. And in this issue, we get to see what happens in the fallout of this battle between these good and evil people. And we kind of see that good and evil is a relative term, and it kind of just depends on what choices you make and what you do with your life in the moments that you have. That is going to really make the difference on, like, who you are as a person. And we get to see just some really cool growth from all of these characters. And as always, like, Mirka just has it's the cutest, like, angel demon stories that anybody has ever designed, and they always just leave you with these warm fuzzies at the end, and even if they go in, like, the ultimate dark spaces. And so if you haven't read any Mirka and Dolfo, this is a really good place because it is 3 issues, so you can read the whole thing in 3 issues. But if you haven't read a Distillery book, you should definitely jump on these just absolutely stunning IMAX stories that give us something different in each and every one. We've got Washed in the Blood, issue 3 from Massive. This is a crazy story. Speaking of the cult environments that we were talking about with Deeprog, this is somebody who is kind of still, like, right in the middle of it. So this is the story of a boy who the gods kind of decided that they needed to build a cult for, like, every god should have a cult, and this one god was like, well, what can I make humans obsessed with? And they decide that they're going to make them obsessed with guns. And so this god has created this cult that is dedicated to him. And in the process, like, when it gets to the point when all the people are supposed to make the ultimate sacrifice, the kid who is supposed to be their messiah, who they're like, we'll kill you and you'll be reborn and all of our faith will be justified, he's like, I'm not going to do that. This was a stupid idea. And so now he's been out on his own for the last 3 issues, because that all happens at the very beginning. He's been out on his own trying to figure out how he can survive in this world. And everybody he comes across kind of has their own thing that they firmly believe in that pushes him in one direction or another. And he's like, I just want to find a world where it doesn't matter and I can just live and help people and do good. And his gods have to kind of come to terms with like what he's doing, the choices he's making. And he's like, I want to rely on you because of who you are, but I also need you to like give me a world that I can actually live in. And so it's been a really interesting, like really like out there story that's making some really cool points. We've got Zor issue 3 from Keen Spot. This is one of the most adorable kids books. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. This is all about a little girl who her mom passes away before the books ever open up, and her dad gives her the mom's wedding ring and puts it on a necklace for her. And in the very first issue, he's like, don't lose it, don't let anything happen to it. And of course she puts it on the sink and ends up knocking it down the drain. And so she starts crying because she feels like she's never going to get it back. And her teardrops that fall down into the drain become an actual like person, and that person is named Zor, and Zor is making his way through the drain to find the ring to bring back to the girl. And he has been battling against the evil spider who has moved into the drain and is building webs and taking out all the people. So you got the flies who work for the spider because they don't want to get eaten. You got the military soldier guys who fell down the drain who are helping fight. You got the little farm, like the dust bunny farmer, which is so cute. Oh my gosh. And they're just on this grand adventure to try to save the ring. And now in this issue, the plumber has come and is going to help them. But since he can't do it, he's got to put out the chemicals into the thing, like the Drano. And if the Drano touches anything in the drain, it will destroy them all. And so they all have to figure out how to work together to help Zor get the ring and stay safe and get home. And it's just such a cute story. Very, very Pixar-esque, honestly. If you're a fan of Pixar movies, you'd probably really enjoy that story. We've got issue 3 of Creature from the Black Lagoon from the Universal Monsters imprint at Skybound and Image Comics. There's like so many imprints there. This is a brand new story in your Universal Monsters world. It is in your Creature from the Black Lagoon world. Everything is canon from the movies. These are official Universal Monsters movies or comics, so the movies still exist, but we are following a woman who has come to the Black Lagoon because she's been following this ex-Marine who is like a mercenary now, who tried to kill her a long time ago, or at least a couple years ago it seems, and she is determined to take him out and to make him actually suffer the consequences of the murders and the attempted murders that he's ever done. And so she has come here to find him, and in turn she has actually found the creature, and he is out in that same area of the woods and the jungle, I guess, that the creature is in. And so she has teamed up with some people in this issue where she's like, if you help me find this man and take him to justice, I will help you find the creature, because the creature is drawn to me and I need your help. And so they are going into the jungle with the attempt to find the man and the creature, and we are going to see what gets found first. And everything on the back of this is a spoiler, so I'm not going to show you the rest of the story. It's only a 4-issue thing, so if I tell you what happens at the end of issue 3, it like tells you everything that happens for the story. We've got Drawing Blood issue 3 from Image Comics and Kevin Eastman. Every time I read this, I just want to like ask if Kevin Eastman is okay. I always get like super nervous every time. I'm like, are you okay, Kevin Eastman? Do you need a hug? If you haven't read it yet and you love comic books, and if you loved Ninja Turtles or just the universe building that has come from comics, this is definitely something to read. But this is about a guy who creates a franchise of characters in a comic book that gets sold to be turned into a cartoon and a TV show and movies and all of that. And in the process, and then he gets this money for it, and he uses it to start a new comic studio and put out more comics, and he blows all of his money, and now he is in trouble with mobsters coming after him. He's got to deal with just being like a deadbeat in the community. He's trying to write a play, and it's very Spider-Man After Dark, so everybody is like getting hurt in it. It's supposed to be like this is never going to go anywhere, and he's trying to convince the mobsters that like if they just let him launch his play, like he'll have tons of money. And in the process of everything else going wrong in his life, his business partner, who he had running his studio, has passed away, and now this issue is going to the funeral and is kind of trying to come to terms with the loss of that person in his life, which was kind of the only person holding things together for him. So we're going to see where this goes for this guy, but I really want to hug every comic creator I know, and like the concept of comics will break your heart is perfectly displayed through here, but also it's just like a really good reminder of like what like that sudden rise to fame, and then that and how fast you can drop. It really works, but it's also just really good storytelling. We've got The Principles of Necromancy, issue 3 from Magma Comics. I have been wondering every issue what the lore of this world was, and how we got this Dr. Eyes, who it seems to be dealing with necromancy, but also just into something so much more. And in this issue, we finally get it. This is an issue that kind of takes a step back and tells us about who all of the doctors are. So there's not just Dr. Eyes, there's a whole body of doctors who are working on different crazy inventions and doctor activities and things like that, and they each represent a different body part, and through that they do the types of surgeries and things like that. They're supposed to be doing the research of those things as well, and our main character, Dr. Eyes, is supposed to be researching eyes and optometry and focusing on all of that, but he has decided that he is obsessed with necromancy. And so we are seeing a backstory of the year that he presented his findings on necromancy to the board, and what their expectations were for him, and how he changed that, and whether or not they believe in necromancy, and whether or not that can be accepted by this council. And it's kind of crazy ridiculous, and I don't want to show you anything from the back half of the book. It's so dark and creepy, and this you're half Dr. Eyes, you've gone too far, but also wait, hear him out. He did his research. He deserves to present his findings. Why am I so torn on who, you're all bad people, except for the one. There are 2 doctors in here that are a set, and I'm they're the only ones not doing crazy, invasive surgeries. They're actually, the only ones doing a good thing to help people, it seems like. But the other ones are all oh, I'm doing this research by, killing all of these people. It's insane. If you haven't read it yet and you're looking for something dark and creepy, that's such a big one to jump into. And a great launch for Magma. We've got Redcoat, issue 3 from Image and the Ghost Machine imprint. This is in your Geiger world, but you don't ever have to have read Geiger at this point to jump into that. I do believe we are going to see some crossover, possibly even it's soon, but this is about a man named Simon Pure who was around, he was a redcoat. He was a British soldier during the Revolutionary War, and he ends up trying to evade doing any actual work, and ends up falling into this ritual that the founding fathers are doing to try to give, I believe it was Ben Franklin, a mortal life. And instead, he ends up being the one that gets it. And now we are, 100 or so years later, and he's still around, and he's not using his life to the best of his ability. He's still, first of all, he's still wearing the same jacket. Second of all, he's just a terrible human, and he was in a battle, and he got cut by an axe, and this axe may be the only axe and the only weapon that could actually permanently kill him, and he has to rely on the only other person that has his immortality and information to kind of guide him on his quest. And meanwhile, there seems to be a secret society that's reforming that kind of is in the same vein as the one the founding fathers have, that is after him for some reason, and he's not sure he's going to make it long enough to solve the mystery of who they are, nonetheless how to save his life. If you haven't checked it out yet, this is honestly, this and the next book I'm about to talk about are two of the first big launches from Ghost Machine, and they have been really big fan favorites. So check them out. And that said, here is Rook Exodus, issue 3, also from Ghost Machine. This is such a cool concept. This is all about, we destroyed the Earth. No surprise there. And the corporations and the government worked together to build like a new planet where we're all supposed to go and everything's going to be this perfect utopia. So, of course, we ruined that one too. And we destroyed the environment there, and all the people destroy each other. And now we're at the point where basically like nobody can survive there, and they need to get off this planet and figure out where they're going to go. But like the corporation that was in charge of it has already taken all the people that they wanted and just left. And so the people who remain are trying to survive. And a lot of them happen to be these people who were these guardians of the planet and the planet's animals, and kind of helping to work things together. And so they have these helmets that let them control the different animal groups on the planet. And our main character is Rook, who controls all the crows. And one of these people, who may or may not have been one of the original guys, but he is now killing everybody that has animal control helmets, and is coming after all of them to be the one that has all of the ultimate power. And so in order to not only possibly find a way to either A, get off the planet, or B, fix the planet, they're going to have a showdown with this evil dude who's coming after them with all of the animals on the planet. And so Rook has teamed up with Direwolf, who's super cool. Everybody loves her. She's the best. And now they are teaming up with the people inside of the Oasis to try to figure out how to touch base with all of the other Guardians. And we get to see a lot of them in this. And it's really cool to see what kind of animals that Jeff Johns has given like people powers to. It's super awesome. We're going to see where this goes. Hopefully they can survive and figure out how to, fix their world that they completely and totally destroyed. We'll see. We've got Operation Sunshine. This is Volume 2, Issue 3 from Dark Horse. This is one of the strangest vampire books on the shelf. And yeah, in a good way. This is about a world where basically we've got OGs who, or OVs, I guess I should say, who are original vampires. And then we have what they call bugs, which are people who were turned into vampires by OVs. And they're kind of just exactly that, seen as the bugs in this world. And one of the original vampires has come to a group of bugs and some humans, and is basically like, hey, we have to Ocean's 11, the concept of stealing all of these these artifacts that I need to bring down vampire society from the inside out, because these ultimate vampires are not looking out for the good of anybody, and they've got some destruction plans in mind, and I want to make sure that we stop them immediately because they need to be stopped. And probably seems to have some ulterior motives that he's not telling anybody about, but these guys are like, hey, if it'll help us be human again, or at least not have to deal with the original vampires anymore, we're in. And this plan is not going according to plan at all. It is blowing up in this issue. We were on track to do a really great job, but it turns out that not everybody can pull off the perfect heist, and these guys are far from doing a good job. And so we're going to see if they make it out. We're going to see if they get destroyed by the original vampires. And, maybe we'll see what this ulterior motive is for this guy when all of our bugs are destroyed or have to fight back. But really fun, off-the-wall book for vampire lovers. All right, we're jumping to the number 2s. We've got Spectrograph, issue 2 from Distillery, and wait for it, James Tynion, because like I said, it's James Tynion week here. Yes, 5 titles from James this week. If you haven't jumped into Spectrograph yet, a lot happened in the first issue. We meet our main character, who is a real estate agent, and she's not very good at her job. And she needs to sell this house because she is in desperate need of a way to just get her life back together. So she goes to meet some people who are interested in a house that she cannot sell, only to remember halfway there that she left her baby at home alone, sitting in his high chair. And so she's panicking because nobody can go look for her baby. And she's like an hour and a half away for this house. So she's like, okay, well, I'll show it quickly. Well, it turns out the people that she's showing it to are kind of like a secret society who are obsessed with something that mysterious that happened in this house and the ability to bring back this wicked magic that is inside of the home. And so she goes into the house with the woman she's showing it to, and she enacts whatever magic is going to kick off what's happening in this house. And now they're both trapped inside of the house, and they are trapped not alone. There are these ghostly spirits in here that are just coming after them, and there is no way out. Basically, it was like, once you're in the house, you're never going to get out of it. And this woman is like, I don't care. I have to get out of this house. I left my baby at home. And the girl's like, why did you leave a baby at home? Like, what's wrong with you? And she's like, well, it was an accident, and now I'm stuck here, and, like, I didn't know you were going to be a crazy person. Like, no, you're just a weird goth chick. I didn't know you were going to be a crazy person who was a part of some secret society. And so now they're kind of trying to work together, but also this girl from the secret society is having some severe second thoughts about what she was brought there to do. And we're going to see if these two can work together to get through this madhouse, as it were, and back out, or if they are destined to become just more lost souls stuck in this house forever. If you didn't read issue 1, there are still some on the shelf, so grab issue 1 and 2 and jump in, because you're not going to want to miss this crazy story. We've got Armored issue 2 from, oh my gosh, I already forgot who the publisher is of this. This is, it's Clover Press. Which I'm so excited. This book is such a fun, just exciting. It's almost like middle grade fiction, because it is like the kids are kind of like middle school, maybe high school age kids, but this is all about a kid who lives in the foster care system, and after losing his parents, and he finally gets adopted by a family who just lost their son. And a bunch of the other kids in school decide that they're going to start bullying him, because they're like, well, we don't want our friend to be replaced. Like, how dare you come in here and try to replace him? And he's like, I don't know anything about your friend. So he ends up following them in issue 1 to this place where they're going, which is like where the friend died. And he falls into this tomb that has this armor in there, and when he freaks out, the armor attaches itself to him, and now he's being followed by the spirit of the original wielder of the armor. And it turns out there's these dark demon creatures who are coming after the armor and the wearer of it and this community, and so now he's kind of the protector of this community, whether he wants to be or not. And it's totally a Wicked Witch, Glinda, Dorothy situation, because he's like, well, I don't understand why they're coming after me. And the guy's like, oh, well, because they want the armor. And he's like, well, why don't I just give them the armor? And they're like, oh, it turns out you can't get rid of the armor once it's given to you unless you die. And he's like, those are things you tell people before you put the armor on them. And I'm like, thank you. Let's all remember that Dorothy didn't ask for the shoes. And now this kid's stuck with it too. But we find out in this issue there may be something else going on with the parents that ties them into this whole situation. And as we begin to fight against these darkened spirits, we're going to see what impact they have on the town, and maybe a little bit more about where they come from. This is really cool, and I did find out that one of our customers actually made a cover for issue 3, which I'm really excited for that one to come out, because that's going to be super awesome. Also, there's Clover Press label right on the front. I don't know why I missed that. Also, this cover is Nick Pitara, so that's cool. Really excited to see Nick Pitara back on covers. Hopefully, we'll get some Nick Pitara interior soon. William of Newbury, issue 2 from Dark Horse. This is the most adorable exorcism book that anybody has ever drawn. I'm pretty sure I can make that statement and be accurate, but this is Michael Avon Oeming, who was the artist on Blue Book and a million other things, especially with Brian Michael Bendis, has come and is actually doing the writing and the art on this. And this is the story of William, who is this really adorable little raccoon priest who feels like it doesn't matter like what the church tells him. He needs to go around and actually help the people whether they have money or not. This is kind of one of those like Prince John tax the people who need your help kind of situations, and he's against that, so he is just going around to help people. And in issue 1, he learned of a situation in a town nearby of somebody who needed to have an exorcism done of a spirit that was hurting the town. And they told him he could not go. He went anyway. He met some thieves along the way, and now he has a little assistant who's one of the thieves from the group, and they are traveling to the town. And in this issue, they do get there, and they are working to figure out what it is that made this spirit at an unrest, and are working themselves to stop this plague that's spreading and this darkness that's overtaking the town. And at the same time, thieves that they used to be, that his partner used to be a part of, are coming after them. And so are the members of the priesthood and the church, because he has violated their laws for coming. And so poor little William may be in trouble as the priesthood comes for him. But again, cutest exorcism stories you're ever going to read. You should definitely check it out. It feels like really classic too. Like I said, it feels like in that Robin Hood time frame, but cuteness. Robot and Girl, issue 2 from Keen Spot. This is one of Matt's favorite books. He absolutely, if you were watching when he was on the show, he had this as his pick of the week. And rightfully so, because speaking of adorable things that everybody needs to fall in love with, this is one of them. So this is the story of a robot. He is the, oh my god, I already forgot what he's called. It's Ara, but I don't remember what, it's like automated robot assistant thing. Basically, he's supposed to be a home assistant, but they've gotten to the point where his model has been considered like at the end of its life cycle, and what they're programmed to do is when they get near their end of their life cycle is to basically desystemize themselves and like pull all of the pieces apart. And so this robot has gone to a point where he was like, oh, I was gonna just sacrifice myself and give all of my pieces to another place and other robots. And on the path of doing that, in issue 1, a bunch of kid bullies start attacking him, and this girl who stands on the street corner and gives away free hugs because she feels like the world needs a positive place ends up saving him from that. And so she brings him home, and in this issue she's actually doing the work to recover him. And she asks him, like, this whole issue is about like, well, what do you find joy in? And he's like, I don't find joy, I don't feel joy. And she's like, well, what do you feel sad about? And he's like, I don't feel sadness. And she's like, well, that kind of is a good thing, but that's kind of a bad thing. Like, don't you want to feel something? And he's like, I am only meant to exist and to help humans, and I'm at the end of my life cycle. And she's like, well, not anymore. Now you're my assistant. And they go on this cute adventure, which also just includes him being a part of the free hugs, which is so great. And she has this like really cute like thing where he's like, well, why are you giving people hugs? Like, where's the monetary value? What are you earning from this? And she's like, I'm not earning anything from it. I'm just helping to spread positivity in the world because there's enough darkness in it. And he's like, I don't understand. And she's like, you will. Like, and it's just so cute. This is one of the most positive books on the shelf, and everybody should read it because it just gives you warm fuzzies that you absolutely 100% need. And, make a sign and give out free hugs, because it just, watching her do it gives you the feeling of happiness that like you would get, and like her explaining it to the robot of the soul currency value that she gets from just going out and helping people, like, and them becoming best friends already. Like, first of all, I still stand by, I want a robot plushie to go with my Kanto plushie that doesn't exist, but like, I don't know why nobody's making plushies of all of these amazing characters from indie comics that I'm obsessed with, but apparently I need to learn how to make plushies and just start making my favorite indie comic plushies because
They don't want money.
yes. But I just want them for myself. I don't even need to sell them. I just want to snuggle. I want to snuggle Kanto and Robot at the same time and just be happy. I feel like this is like the opposite end of the spectrum, but Lesser of the Lesser Gods, issue 2 from Dark Horse, and this is the latest volume of this. So there was a previous one, doesn't matter, you can jump in right here. Basically, this is what if you made Jack Black a Norse god. That is the best way to describe Lesser of the Lesser Gods. He is the son of Odin that we don't talk about, who's grown up in the human world, who is a complete and total mess. But he thinks he's like Conan. He's out there, like, in his little, like, tiny Speedo-looking suit with his weapons, and he's, like, going around. And he thinks that he's actually, like, saving people and going into battle, but it actually is never the case. He always gets saved by somebody else, and it's and you're just like, Lester, you didn't do anything, but he is completely delusional and has no idea that that's not happening. And in this story, we are actually seeing the bad guy wants to take Lester out, and he realizes that the best person to destroy anybody is their mother. So he finds Lester's mom, who is a human, and is like, hey, why don't you come be a part of my team and help us destroy Lester? And she's like, well, why would I do that? And he's like, because you hate him as much as I do. And she's like, I don't hate him. I just think he's the worst thing that's ever crossed the planet. And that all the, long slew of insults. And so she is now joining the team. Meanwhile, Lester and his friend are in a battle that he is 100% messing up. And seriously, I don't know what it would take for Jack Black to just take this on, but it just needs to be a Jack Black movie. And this is done by Eric Powell, who's known for The Goon. So if you're a fan of The Goon and you've never picked up Lester, I think you should totally pick it up. And if you're a fan of parodies of sword and sorcery, you should definitely pick it up, because that's really, it's a sword and sorcery parody that everybody on both sides of the sword and sorcery realm should jump into. We've got Sanction issue 2 from Mad Cave. This is 1980s Soviet Union detective story. So we've got our traditional guy who investigates a murder and then just covers it up and is like, oh, it was a freak accident kind of situation, and always writes off all the cases so that he has perfect numbers of solving them, and also so he doesn't ever mess with any of the people who would be very mad at him not doing that. And then we have our main character, who is a guy who is a detective who absolutely, positively cannot ever let anything go without solving it for the truth, because he is all about doing the right thing and finding the truth in the situation. And so in the very first issue, he is called onto a case for a woman who is found dead on the street, and the other guy is like, we're just going to write it off. We're going to say it was an accident. She fell. It's fine. And he's like, if she fell, why did this, and this happen? And so he is now investigating the murder, and it is coming up with ties to all of the people that he is not supposed to rock the boat for. And the police department does not want him to continue to investigate this, and the mobsters essentially don't want him to investigate this, and that means he's going to investigate harder. I love it. I love the classic detectiveness of this story. I love this character already, and how much he's determined to... he doesn't even notice how much everybody hates him for not doing it. He's just so focused on the job. They're like, people hate you, right? And he's like, what were you talking? I'm sorry, I was investigating. And the further down the rabbit hole he goes, the more he's going to uncover that's going to make this a more dangerous case for him and everybody involved. But if you are a fan of all of the crime stories that are hitting the shelves right now, this is a fantastic one. In a completely different place. We always just kind of see them take place in Chicago, New York, big cities like that here in America. It's nice to kind of see it in another place, and just change it up a little bit. We've got Grommets issue 2 from Image Comics. Issue 1 sold out at Bad City. You guys really love this issue or this story, and I'm so excited. If you're watching and you are a big fan of Grommets #1, tell us why you love it. I want to hear all about it from you, because obviously I know why I love it, but I want to hear why you love it. But this is, that perfect summer story, honestly, for outcast kids looking for something to do, and we follow along as one kid ends up making friends with another, and they bond over the fact that they want to be skateboarders, and they're not the best skaters. In issue 1 we see some major wipeouts, but they're trying their hardest. And in this issue, what's really cool is we get to meet the girl skateboarders, and they are awesome. One of them may be even a murderer. The whole rumors around her of her dad was abusive, so she burned his house down with him in it and all this stuff. We've got these elaborate stories. Also, I love this issue because we go to 1980s Taco Bell, and we have a serious moment at Taco Bell. They go in, and it's oh, well, what are we going to order? What kind of food do you want? And he's like, I'll take one of everything. And it shows the Taco Bell menu and everything. I was like, this is my teenage years. I was a teenager in the 90s, but everybody was still skateboarding, and everybody went to Taco Bell after school every day. And so it's awesome to see just all the kids hanging out at Taco Bell. It just felt so real. And then they go and they're skateboarding, and they go through, you know, the parking garage. And of course, you're not supposed to skate in the parking garages. So they're like, we don't care, like, you know, skate or die. And it's just so much fun. The kids are great. We get to see kind of everybody has their own problems with their family and their own problems with growing up and where they're going to be. It's just the classic coming of age story with the appropriate amount of like humor, action, heart. It's all there, and somebody is going to option this and turn it into a movie. It's got to happen. It feels like it's written for that from both Rick Remender and Brian Hussein, like just putting it together. The Trident of Aurelia, The Storm. This is Volume 2, Issue 2 from Battle Quest Comics. We do have a trade paperback, I believe, for Volume 1, if you haven't read it yet. But this is all about mermaids. We don't have enough mermaid books in traditional American comics. We have like 3 right now in the manga world that just came out, but it's fun to have an American comic about mermaids. But if you didn't read Volume 1, it was all about a girl who was told she was going to be sacrificed to the ocean because the ocean was filled with like this toxic sludge that just this town thought that the only thing they could do was sacrifice young women to it, and that wasn't working for anybody. When they tried to sacrifice her and she fell into the ocean, she actually ended up saving everybody because she was the long lost mermaid princess, and now she is working as the mermaid queen, and so she is living both on land and in the water to try to bring this balance between the two worlds. But we are seeing some people from other kingdoms coming to try to, now that they can get through the ocean, to try to attack them. And her mermaid friends and council are trying to keep the ocean safe, but also battle against these people. And they have gone into some really dark situations. We've seen some people who will not fight with them, who are very angry and in the mermaid world. We've seen some dark siren spirits, which is cool. Thank you to the creators of this for acknowledging that mermaids and sirens are not the same thing. I appreciate that so much. And I love that we're seeing the contention between both of these. But this is such a fun mermaid story for anybody who wants to see like a high fantasy mermaid story in comic books. We've got Blood and Fire, issue 2 from Red 5. It's kind of our typical Ronin story. And in issue 1, we saw how that came to life. We had a soldier who was a samurai warrior for that represented protected one of the princes. And when the king dies, the emperor dies, both of the young soon-to-be leaders come, and he is with the one that is supposed to take over. And the younger sibling of that person does not agree with the choice. And so there is this epic battle between the siblings. And our samurai warrior makes it out in issue 1, only to find out that that's not going to be the end for us and for him. And so while he has to fight his way back to his family, we kind of see that in this issue where he's trying to not only avenge the emperor's son that he was meant to protect, but now he's just trying to get to his family and keep himself safe in the process. I like it because most of this issue is silent, and it is done in this like black, white, and red kind of art style, which is really cool and really fitting for a Ronin book. But if you are a fan of samurai and Ronin stories in general, you're really going to like the way this one's drawn. I am excited to see a book from Red 5. It's been a minute since we've had one, so I hope that this means that we're seeing more come back from Red 5 soon. We've got Deliver Us from Evil, issue 2 from Blood Moon Comics. This is such a crazy story. This is about a man named Constantine Lazar, who's been around since essentially the beginning of time. Like, it's almost like he might be Lazarus from the Bible, but he gets himself in a lot of trouble a lot of the time. And in the beginning of issue 1, we see him like get arrested and thrown into jail. And while he's in jail, he starts getting connected to some of the wrong people again, and kind of feels like he does a lot, like being that his name's Constantine, it kind of feels like he does a lot in that situation where he's always showing up and is the one that stops or makes it worse with these demons and these things that are happening over the course of history. And so in this issue, he has come into contact with a woman named the Silent Violet, who was just bullied and beaten and treated so terribly badly as a child. And so she ended up becoming a nun. And now their paths have crossed, and they are going to possibly have to take on some very demonic, evil people together. And everything seems to, like, that he's put together seems to kind of be unraveling already. And so it's like, ooh, where is he going to go? Where is this going to lead him? And what kind of darkness is actually spreading through the world at the same time? We're going to see how all of that unfolds over the course of these issues. And there's a lot of darkness in this poor man's life, but also I love that we get these Stefano Carselli covers on all of the Deliver Us from Evil issues. So we've got Blood Squad 7, issue 2 from Image Comics. This is, what would it be like if you had a superhero team that was, like, at the top of their game, like, you know, the 90s, like, you're taking that 90s superhero team that was, like, ultimately popular and crazy, like, they made TV shows, they made action figures, they did all kind of stuff for them, and then, now they're just, nobody cares, you know, it's like, 3 years, like, that was so 90s, nobody's into that stuff, and now they're back, and they're supposed to be building their own team again. I love it because you see Savage Dragon is here, so this issue opens up with one of the characters from the Blood Squad 7 trying to get Savage Dragon to join their team, and he's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that, and then he arrests him. And then we kind of jump back into our story, which is following our lead of the group. She used to be one of the members back in the 90s, and now she is kind of working with the government to lead this team. And as she tries to build them out, she finds that, you know, they're not very controllable, and some of them aren't very marketable. And so in issue 1, one of the characters, he is just complete and totally, like, off the wall, does whatever he wants, and he ends up going to a brothel in another country, and everybody at it ends up dead. And so in this issue, she is cleaning up the mess that he says is an alien invasion, and that this brothel was filled with aliens, but they are doing an investigation to figure out if any of that is actually true, or if he has just gone off the deep end, and is she going to be able to control him and the people that she has on her team. We're going to find out. If you're a fan of Local Man, this is a good kind of similar vein of those 90s heroes, those 90s Image heroes specifically, like, coming back into the now, and how the 90s characters and the 90s comics don't really translate to the modern comic world. And so what happens when you take those characters that everybody has this nostalgia for and put them into the modern time? Their behavior doesn't really work. And so it's always fun to see these Image creators kind of going back to those kinds of characters and being like, hey, that didn't make any sense. It's not going to work. We've got to train these people to be better if we're going to have superheroes in our world now. We've got Dungeons and Dimwits, issue 1 from Drin Productions. For all of you Dungeons and Dragons fans, this is such a fun one, and honestly, like, Stranger Things fans too. This is kind of that cross section of that, because this does have some kiddos who are playing Dungeons and Dragons, and the whole first 2/3 of the book is actually them, like, arguing around the table over the different things that are happening, and their dungeon master just getting really annoyed with the fact that none of them are paying attention and listening to him. And so you see the story kind of, like, play out like if they were in it, but then it flips back to the kids just sitting at the table arguing with each other. Well, in the process of the thing, their DM suddenly loses the ability, and I'm going to see if I can find that page. He suddenly loses the ability to control what's going on, and finds himself staring at a piece of paper where all the words are coming to life, and the kids find themselves sucked into the world that they've created in their campaign, and now they're going to have to survive their way through this crazy campaign that they've come up with, where none of them know how to actually communicate, as we see in the first half of the book, with each other when they're playing the game. So we're going to see if they make it out alive. But again, if you're looking for a fun, like, Stranger Things meets an actual like Dungeons and Dragons campaign. And if you are a D&D player, this is going to be a fun one for you. We've got Ninjak versus Roku issue 1 from Valiant Alien Books. This is the bring back of Ninjak. We are currently in a way, now that Alien Books owns Valiant, we are seeing them bring back all of the Valiant characters and kind of give us a launch point. I actually just was today years old when I learned that Ninjak was actually Ninja-K, because they were a part of a group of people that were all like Ninja F, Ninja J, Ninja whatever, and when he goes off on his own away from that, they take out the dash and he just becomes Ninjak. And I learned that today. So yay, learning. But Ninjak is off on his own, doing his own thing with his own little oracle. And they kind of give us like with all the new Valiant books, they give us an update as to where he was and things that have happened. And apparently Ninjak used to have a woman that he was in love with. And she got some stuff happened to her. I don't want to like necessarily explain all of it, but basically she is now like got a dark evil spirit inside of her, and it comes with the power of Medusa's hair. And so she has this like telekinetic hair that can do like Medusa from Marvel Comics and like attack people and stuff with it. And they are supposed to be enemies. They now hate each other, or she hates him. I guess Ninjak doesn't hate her. He's trying to save her. And they both get assigned to go find this young girl who has the ability to absorb all information everywhere. So she's basically the biggest knowledge force. And when he gets there, Roku, who is the woman he loves, who is now evil, is there and has her mind scrambled by some previous people who have come by, and the young girl has been kidnapped. And so they must now work together if they are going to find this girl and save her before something bad happens to her. And so, you know, she's trying to get the girl, and so is Ninjak, but maybe not the same girl that they're hoping to get and save in this situation. This is actually really good. I'm not a Ninjak reader. This, like I said, I just learned today that it was Ninja K. But I really like their relationship, and I really want to see where it goes. And also, like, there's so much emotion behind Ninjak's behaviors and what he did. And so I'm really excited to see what happens as this story unfolds. But this new round of Valiant books coming out from the Alien book world has been really fun for me, getting to learn who all the characters are and getting like these little snippets of the Valiant universe really quickly. But then having these like modernized stories for all of them has been a lot of fun. And speaking of modernized stories, we've got Gatchaman, and I'm going to kind of do this at the same time. Gatchaman has launched from Mad Cave. This is their big new universe that they are bringing us. Mad Cave acquired 3 major properties this year to tell stories in their worlds. Of course, you know, they are publishing the Dick Tracy stories. They also have Gatchaman, and of course we will see Flash Gordon coming later on this summer. But I'm going to kick it off with Gatchaman number 1, because this is what you need. If you got your free comic book day issue, this is not the same story. That gave you a little teaser into the Gatchaman world, but you are actually getting a full story in here. Where you're going to see the kids of the, oh my god, what are they called? The Science Ninja team, I think is what the Gatchaman people are. And so they are, does it say? Because it's such a weird name, but it's like, yeah, it's like Science Ninja Team. I don't remember. Science Ninja Team. I was right. Haha. Okay. And so they they're at an academy where they are training for that. And our main team is the G1 through G5 kids, and the G1 being Kin, who is Gatchaman. They work to protect the world from all kinds of invasions and people attacking them. And the first half of this issue 1 is actually them training with the Beta team, who will take their place when they die in battle someday, or you know, if they ever retire or anything like that. And so an invasion happens, there's an attack, and they must go out. And so we get to see the first little battle for our Gatchaman and his team to go out into in this issue. And so if you are a fan of Gatchaman, all of the Gatchaman fans like previously coming into this comic that have come in this week have been so excited about it. They were super stoked about what they read in the Free Comic Book Day issue, and a lot of them had already picked up this and were really excited. So we're going to see a big universe grow out of this, because there's going to be the main Gotchaman title, and then there's going to be a series of miniseries and some one-shots. And speaking of one-shots, the first one was this week as well with Gotchaman Kin, and this is Deathmatch. And we see Kin, who is Gotchaman and who is the leader of the Science Ninja team, as he is inside of they are undercover. Science Ninja team is undercover at a place that has been doing these death matches, and Kin has gone into the battles and is trying to infiltrate it by winning some stuff. And what happens in there is that ends up the death matches end up getting blasted essentially into like this space station in the air, and they're like, you have to choose to join us or die. And of course Ken's like, I'm not gonna do that, like I'm not gonna join you, as well as a couple other people. And so they get dropped down into this arena where the others are going to hunt them down, and so Ken has to try to survive this literal like Hunger Games battle royale situation and make his way back to the team, and hopefully maybe help save some other people in the process. Again, we're really just kind of giving you a chance to see all of the Gotchaman characters and get to know them through these one-shots, and then, like I said, the mini-series for the villains. And so that way it kind of supplements that new world that's being built out in the Gotchaman main title. So if you're a fan of it, this is your time. And if you haven't ever seen Gotchaman or read it, this is honestly, I haven't, and I was completely and totally not lost at all, any more so than any other new number one on a superhero universe where you're learning about it as you go along. We've got Resident Alien, The Book of Life, Issue 1 from Dark Horse Comics. Resident Alien has kind of started doing the same thing as Hellboy, where they just put out little mini-series that are different points of the Resident Alien story, and you can kind of jump into them in the same way that you can with Hellboy, where there's little bits and pieces where you're like, I feel like I should know what that means, but at the same time, like, I can understand it enough to keep going with the story. And so this is a point in Harry, I believe it's Harry, the Resident Alien's life, where he has a human girlfriend and she has gotten pregnant. And so they are having to deal with the concept of, is the baby going to come out an alien? Is he going to be okay? Is he going to look like him? Is he going to have any special things that he needs because of that? And so the mom-to-be decides she's going to go stay with her aunt for a little bit and figure out, how she feels about the concept of being a mother suddenly, but also the concept of having an alien baby and what she's going to do about that. And so she takes some time to just come to terms with it while he continues to, build their home for them. And so it's just a really cute story. It was a great way to jump into that world. And honestly, because Alan Tudyk plays him on the TV show, and I know that, I just read everything he said in an Alan Tudyk voice, and it made the story like even more heartwarming than it already was, as the two of them kind of came to terms with this new life that they had. But it also set up a really big thing to happen in this new Resident Alien story that I'm like, ooh, this is going to be good. We've got Anansi Boys, Issue 1 from Dark Horse and Neil Gaiman. This is something that a lot of Neil Gaiman fans were really excited to see coming out this week. And this was another one of those stories that just really pulls on your heartstrings immediately, because Neil Gaiman, that's what he does. But this is about a man who is also at the point where he's getting married, and he is having a conversation with his fiance about the wedding, and they're talking about, who else is going to be invited. And it's a whole conversation about whether or not he should invite his dad. And she's like, look, I don't have a father to walk me down the aisle and watch me get married, so I'd like it if your dad was there. And he's like, well, here's the story about my dad. And he starts telling her all of these moments throughout life where his dad was just absolutely embarrassing to him and just made him feel like the worst. But every story he tells is like, Yeah, it was kind of over the top and dramatic, but it's also like really cute. Like this page that I'm on right now, where the mom's in the hospital and they haven't seen the dad in the while, and she's like, I wish I could see your dad one last time. So he calls the one person that like knows how to get in touch with the dad, and the dad comes with a marching band, like a New Orleans jazz band to come through the hospital and play her favorite song, and she just, you know, it ends up like saving her life, and it's just this beautiful moment. And you know, he has this like, he's like, my dad's just not a good person and I don't really want him to be there, but his wife convinces him to reach out to his dad, and what he learns about his dad just really gets you. And there's some great stuff that's building up for a really big story to unfold with this. And again, it's Neil Gaiman. He's going to tell a great story. He's going to get you in the feels when it's necessary. He's going to build out a universe that you want to come into at times. And there's going to be so much that happens in this. But already the characters feel real, and like you've been spending your time with them for, like, you feel like you're 6 issues in when you start reading it, just because you're so quickly connected to the characters. Godzilla, Here There Be Dragons returns with Volume 2, Sons of Giants, Issue 1 from IDW. If you didn't read Here There Be Dragons, turns out after reading this issue, wouldn't really matter. But this is kind of its own separate story, it seems. But Here There Be Dragons Volume 1 does have pirates and kaiju. Volume 2 is going to take us back to feudal Japan to start with, and we hear about a samurai warrior who wanted to fight against the kaiju, and so he has a special sword made just that he can take them on. And we see the story of that man and how that plays out for him. And then we fast forward to a future time period where we are actually learning that history specifically because a society of kaiju crazy worshippers who may or may not be trying to like take them down, not really sure which side of the kaiju they're on, has found that sword and is determined to wield it, as it were. And then it takes us to the duel of Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton, and we see that this secret society may be embedded in American culture very, very deeply, which is interesting because the pirate story in Here There Be Dragons showed how the crown and the kingdom was very much embedded into the mysteries of Skull Island, and now it's like, ooh, there's the secret society that has connections to the kaiju, and they're embedded in American society, and so it's like, ooh, now we're gonna see some more mystery and intrigue, as it were, with the Godzilla and the kaiju world, and I'm so excited. Here There Be Dragons was one of those, Volume 1 was one of those stories where everybody was like, I know this is gonna be ridiculous, but I'm gonna buy issue 1, and then everybody became obsessed with the story and was constantly like so excited to read the next issue. So I cannot wait for a whole new round of being just excited and amazed by what they do in this story. We've got Self-Help issue 1 from Image. This is, I've been calling this the Prince and the Pauper story for all week, because this is about a man who is not very happy with his life. He is essentially an Uber driver, and he's not even very good at that. He doesn't have anything going for him, except for the fact that he looks like the world's biggest, like most famous self-help guru. And he is always getting like, oh, you look just like him. Are you him? People are coming up for his autograph and stuff, and he's like, that's not me. Like, stop it. Or sometimes he just charges people for the autograph and takes the money. And then we see the flip side of the king of the self-help gurus, this prince of society, essentially, and he is an absolute jerk. He is the worst person, and his self-help is to basically tell you that you're a terrible person and you need to like get better and not like stop being a wimp and stop whining about your life because the world sucks and so do you. Like, he's a terrible person, but everybody pays money for him to yell at them and tell them to be better because they think that it's charming in some way. I don't know why. He is supposed to be going to a party one night, and when he goes to leave for the party, it turns out that his Tesla isn't charged because he didn't know that he had to charge his Tesla. And so he's upset about it, and so he ends up having to call an Uber driver. And guess who the Uber driver is? Yep, it's the guy that looks just like him. And they end up like kind of evaluating their lives and figuring out, you know, what's there to know about each other and where they are. And I have a feeling we're gonna see a Prince and the Pauper kind of swap, but I don't think it's gonna happen in the way that anybody would want it to. So far, this has been a lot of fun, and these characters are gonna have some big things to go through very quickly, and I cannot wait to see how it unravels in incredible ways. I mean, literally the quote on the back of the book is from The Art of War, so we're definitely like setting up this to be not a happy story for anybody. All right, I've got a couple picks of the week for you. First up, we have The End of Rare Flavors, issue 6 from Boom Studios. This has just been such a fun story to see how it's unfolded, and there was going to be an emotional journey as we went on it, and it definitely wraps in that way. So if you haven't read Rare Flavors, this is all about a guy who is a filmmaker and kind of hasn't really been doing much of that, and he comes into contact with a man who is actually a demon who fell in love with Anthony Bourdain and wanted to use his love of food to create a food documentary. So he hires this kid that's basically not doing anything with his life, who's like, you know, late 20s, early 30s, and is like, hey, come with me on this journey. And along the way, he finds that the guy is trying to find the best foods, but also believes the best food is the person who created the food. And so we see people kind of hunting this demon. We see the demon hunting for the perfect experience. And in this issue, we actually see our lead character actually come to terms with the experiences around food in his own life, and the thing that made the value of life means something to him. And he's presenting, you know, the work that he's done, but he's doing it in a way where he's actually telling his own story and his own journey. And it's such a beautiful wrap up to this book and the story that Ram V was telling. Again, if you're a fan of Many Deaths of Layla Starr, this is your exact same creative team building out a really beautiful story. And it honestly, every time I read it, just makes me really hungry. But the recipes are in here if you ever want to actually make the food that they talk about, which I love. It has like that little bit of food manga feel to it, in that you get the recipe as they're talking about it, and then the story kind of builds between the parts of the recipe. And in this one, we learn that there's always room for that special food in your life, and it's a beautiful story and a beautiful moment all wrapped up in that. And then lastly, we have we have Animal Pound, issue 4 from Boom Studios. I'm very excited for the return of this story from Tom King. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus for it, but if you are a fan of Animal Farm, this is definitely a modernized, Americanized take on that same story. This is about a bunch of animals in a pound: dogs, cats, and rabbits. And they decide that they are tired of being killed and mistreated by the people of the pound. So in issue 1, they stage a mutiny, and they take back the pound, and they end up building out their own government based off of honestly American democracy. Like, it's like, oh, well, everybody should have a vote, and it's like, well, if everybody had a vote, then the rabbits would always rule, because there's always going to be more rabbits than anything else. And what's to stop the dogs from eating the rabbits, so that there is no rabbits left to vote against them? And so it's like, okay, well, it'll go by the weight. Like, everybody will have a vote, but each vote count, like, they build the electoral college, essentially. And it's really interesting to see Tom King kind of break apart what our government structure is and how it does and doesn't work. And over the last few issues, we have had elections happen and everything kind of go really smoothly. And now, for the first time, we have gotten an animal in charge who does not abide by the rules. And everybody initially is like, wow, this is terrible. He doesn't fall in line with what we believe in. We feel like he's just kind of making a joke of our governmental system that we've created. And it's like, somehow he gets a bunch of the animals on his side, though, with a bunch of gibberish that doesn't make any sense to anybody. And everybody's like, but those words don't mean anything. You didn't really say anything. And he's like, I said a lot. People thought it was the best speech they've ever heard. This was so good. Everybody's going to vote for me. And they're like, if he gets elected again, it's going to completely and totally destroy the pound and everybody's going to die. That's not like him. And they are trying to figure out how they're going to survive all of this. And we see the cats and the rabbits realize that their rights are slipping away, and they don't really know how they're going to fight against them because the dogs have changed all of the rules without actually changing any of the laws. They just somehow are managing to get away with everything. This is absolutely fantastic. If you're a fan of Animal Farm and you want a modernized version, that's what this is. If you were always like, I don't really understand Animal Farm, this is a great way to read it and understand it in our modern society, and with the dogs and cats and the destruction that may be coming around soon. You should definitely check that out. And technically, I don't usually bring manga, but one more pick of the week, because I'm going to keep yelling at you how much I love this book every time it comes out. It's Nina, the Starry Bride. And it's amazing. This is volume 5 of the story. Volume 1 is on my Shann's Pick shelf on the manga, in the manga section. So, it's I'm obsessed with it. But it is the winner of the 2022 Kodansha Manga Award. So it's fantastic. I will show you a little bit of it. But this is the story of Nina, who was a peasant girl on the streets, and she has these weird bright blue eyes that nobody's ever seen before. And one day she is approached by the prince of her kingdom that basically says, we were supposed to marry off the princess who's been trained to be the astral priestess, but on the way to bring her back, her carriage fell off the cliff and she died, and we need to find somebody to replace her, and you're going to be that person. And in volume 1, she trains on how to be the princess, and the whole reason why isn't because they just need a princess, it's because they have agreed to marry her off to Prince Set, who is from Golgotha, which is another kingdom, and he is evil and terrible, or at least that's what we're led to believe, but I'm kind of in love with him now. I don't know. He's so, he's trying, and so is Az, the prince from her home, and there's this beautiful love triangle that I'm obsessed with, and everything about this book is wonderful and amazing, and I scream and I laugh and I cry and I hug the book every time it comes out because I'm so happy. So if you're just looking for a fantastic manga romance story that's kind of fantasy, but not really, like, there's not really like the high power, it's more just like the kingdom kind of thing, like you have to marry off to like the prince and stuff like that. It's so good. Again, Kodansha Manga Award 2022. It should win more awards all the time because it's so good. If you're a fan of young adult novels at all, this is right up your alley automatically. Everybody's wonderful and everybody's terrible and everybody's perfect in that book, and I can't wait to see where it goes. We've got some more books in stock that I'm going to fly through really fast just to let you know what else came out this week. We've got Godzilla vs. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Volume 2, Issue 3 from Boom Studios. Scotty Young is everywhere right now, and we've got the Giant Size Little Marvels. This is, it was a digital story that's been brought into print. It is so cute and adorable. There's like 4 stories inside of it about the kid version of the Marvel characters. It's so cute. Thanos is, we're getting another Infinity Gauntlet kind of problem going on right now, so it's kicking off in this Thanos one-shot. Also a Scotty Young Big Marvels cover. We've got Power Girl issue 10 and Penguin issue 11 from DC. You got some Blood Hunt titles coming out this week, including Midnight Suns #2. Nottingham issue 13 from Mad Cave. This is one of the series that you can enter the Mad Cave talent search with. So if you've always wanted to write a story in a darkened Robin Hood world, you could write, draw, color, a story for that. Helverine issue 2 is back from Marvel. We've got Green Arrow issue 13. I'm going to save that for the end. We've got X-Men Era of Apocalypse issue 2. We've got the X-Men Magic Blood Hunt story. This is another one of your Blood Hunt tie-ins. We've got X-Men 97 with this adorable Storm, Big Marvel variant for issue 4. Wolverine Madripoor Knights issue 5, which I believe is the wrap-up of that series. We've got Superman Action Comics. We've got issue 1066, which has a Pride variant for Naomi, as well as the regular Superman title, issue 15, with a Pride variant featuring John. We've got Star Wars, The High Republic Adventure, Saber for Hire, issue 3 from Dark Horse, and Darth Maul Black, White, and Red, issue 3 from Marvel. We've got Superior Spider-Man issue 8. We've got Rat City issue 3 as a part of your expanding Spawn universe, and it is going to get bigger. I don't know if y'all know this, but in the last previews catalog that just had the initial orders, there is a new Violator series coming your way as well. Spectacular Spider-Man issue 4 with Miles and Peter together. Vengeance of the Moon Knight issue 6. We've got Jackpot and Black Cat issue 4 with another Big Marvels cover. And Harley Quinn issue 41, which this is a new jumping point for the Harley Quinn arc. We've been on a new writer recently, which has actually put her back into the original costume. And I believe it's Teenie Howard that's writing it right now. So we've got G.I. Joe Real American Hero issue 307 for all of you Larry Hama G.I. Joe fans. I know if you're not looking to jump into the giant Energon universe, you just want your classic G.I. Joe. It is still going on, and Larry Hama is still writing it on issue 307. We've got Flash issue 10, as well as Daredevil hitting issue 10 right now. We've got the actual Blood Hunt title. We've got issue 4 for that this week. They are flying through Blood Hunt, and it is still going. You've got your checklist is still pretty long for Blood Hunt. There's your checklist for the next wave of Blood Hunt books coming your way. So you've still got some time. It's going to go through the end of July at least, and I think there may be even more than that. Black Widow and Hawkeye issue 4 as well with your Scotty Young Big Marvels cover. We had the launch of Absolute Power this week with Ground Zero. This is going to be your new DC event. So, and we're going to see a lot of really big destruction and some hard times for a lot of our heroes in that one. We've got The Brave and the Bold issue 14. And then for all of you who missed the news, the thing that we've all been waiting for, the moment that we've been looking for and waiting for, Zatanna is back in comics with her own title. We've all been complaining and asking and begging for this to happen, and here it is. I'm so excited, and I cannot wait for everybody to read it. If you read it, make sure you go online and talk about how excited you are that it's back. The more they hear that you want Zatanna, the more Zatanna will see. So get excited that we have her back. Literally, Matt and I were laughing because the poster even says the moment, like the series you've all been waiting for, like the moment you've been asking for. It's here. Zatanna's back. We've got a couple trades in stock. We've got Godzilla Here There Be Monsters Volume 1. So if you were excited about what I was just talking about with Godzilla Here There Be Monsters, this is that first volume. And if you are, this is Frank Thierry that writes these, and Aniki Miranda, who did We Live, is doing the art for this series. So it's really cool. And they're on volume 2 as well. We have Evil Eyes See, which is a story set in contemporary Istanbul about the elections that happened there. So this is a really cool, it's actually a mystery story. And I'm super excited I actually haven't read it yet. I'm super excited to see. It literally describes itself as a feminist political mystery set in Istanbul during the 1995 elections, telling the story of two women who witness a death, possibly a murder, while they're scuba diving. I'm really excited about this, and Anthony Pizzo, if you're watching, I'll probably just stick that in your box because I'm sure you're going to want that. And then The Science of Ghost came out last week, and I forgot to bring my last week trades. So this is it's another great ghostly vengeance mystery story written by Lila Sturgis, who did Lumberjanes, so was one of the creators on Lumberjanes. Another great murder mystery that you need to check out. And then to bring back the nostalgia of all things wonderful that everybody has been so excited. We've had so many people sitting around in the store having a blast with these, but we brought in I Spy books. We've got, I think we sold like 3 or 4 different volumes of these, so if you want to come sit in the kids section and see how much you can spy or buy them and take them home and enjoy them. You can have your own little mini Scholastic book fair, and you can take it up a notch after that and get your Where's Waldo on. We actually literally did have 3 adults sit in the kids section yesterday trying to find Waldo and Friends, because these are the updated versions where you have to go in and not just find Waldo, but who all do you have to find, Matt?
Waldo and Oddlaw and Wizard Whitebeard and Wenda and Wolf, but you can only see his tail.
If you want to geek out over Waldo, please find Matt in the store and have an awesome time, because this is one of his favorite things to do. I think Matt has gone through almost all of the books since we've got them in and found Waldo.
And we have new ones, too, that I've never even seen before that are masterful.
Ooh, yes. Oh, my gosh. Some of the illustrations and the worlds, they are impossible. I really want to sit down with the new ones and figure out if I can ever find Waldo, because they look so hard and they're so beautiful.
The main one, or the largest, I think they said has 4,800 people drawn. 4,800
people? Holy crap. Oh my God. Okay, well, I have to try that now. Now that sounds like a challenge. But if you want to have a fun time just hanging out, come grab a Waldo book or an I Spy and relive your childhood. Or take it home and give it to a child who needs to experience it for the first time. It's so fantastic. That's all we have for you right now. Remember, this Wednesday we are closing early, probably around 4:30, somewhere in there. 4, Matt's saying 4, so that he can go participate in the Mayor's Hot Dog Challenge at the Marauders game. Go to our website, batcity.org, so that you can scroll down to the bottom and find the ticket link to get your tickets to go enjoy that as well. There's going to be fireworks at the end of the night. It's going to be a blast. We will be closed for the 4th of July, and then subscribers, if you get your pull list here at Bat City, don't forget this Friday night, July 5th, is our quarterly subscriber potluck party. Come join us. Bring family, bring friends. It's going to be a blast. And then, of course, Saturday, we've got Slam Academy and all kinds of fun. So don't forget to check our calendar for all the events coming up this month and next month, because all your July events are hitting now. We will see you around the shop for New Comic Book Day. And if we don't, happy 4th of July, everybody. We'll see you when we see you. Until then, happy reading, everyone.